shameful spewing on Esau Edom, and it's at an all-time high, as the Johnny Cash song goes, 5 feet high and rising. And more are speaking out against Esau Edom. That's because we, the prophets, have brought it to light, and so through Yahweh Shai, and this man's being exposed on a daily, every day. And now Trump to declare Venezuela as the 51st state, as Stu Peters, who's been a critic of Trump for some time, and he's been a critic of the Zionist state that runs Babylon. Make sure this is recorded. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, it's been recording. So let's get into it.
All over social media, everywhere. Anyway, so we've had the baseball update. It's been kind of a slow news day.
Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there in the four corners of the earth proclaiming this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Brakatam.
The Iran war, that's even kind of fallen back out of the news cycle. And not because the war is over.
Yep.
If anything, it's continuing to escalate.
Hantavirus.
But it's probably more likely out of the news cycle because there hasn't been any good news. There's no good news for the United States here. There hasn't been any good news for Israel because Iran is still going strong. Iran is refusing to back down. And even after the recent resumption of American bombing runs, for what purpose, I don't know. I don't know what the objective is anymore. But the Iranians are saying, we have no interest in negotiating. We have no interest in coming to the table. We have no interest in talks. We have no interest in surrendering. So at this point, it's going to take a ground invasion to accomplish whatever objective it is that the United States military has in Iran. And if we're to consider all of the evidence, if historical events are going to be considered, if their own words, if their stated objectives are going to be a part of this seemingly complex mathematical equation that must be computed to determine what the objectives of the United States military are in Iran, okay, put yourself through it. But the only logical conclusion that you will come to is Greater Israel. It's their stated objective. It's not nuclear disarmament. It's Greater Israel. And Iran is the last domino to fall in the Middle East on the way to Greater Israel. That brings us to historical precedent. Think about the countries that young American men have sacrificed their names for to steal on behalf of Greater Israel. All of the democratically elected administrations that have been toppled through regime change operations where young Americans are sent to go fight and die. All the nation building. It's all for Greater Israel.
Yep.
Iran is no different.
And people are getting tired of it.
That successfully
Uproars.
is through a successful ground invasion. So how do you do that? How do you pull off a successful ground invasion to accomplish the conquest of Greater Israel? Because that's the objective in Iran. How do you do that? Okay, well, how do you get troops on Iranian soil? Either by air or by sea. We've watched these aircraft carriers limp back into port with gaping holes in the sides of them, okay? Oh, I know, a mysterious fire in the kitchen. A plumbing problem. Okay, we've seen that. The Iranians control the waters that surround Iranian soil. They control the Strait of Hormuz. And by the way, they are backed by their allies in Russia and China. What military equipment does the United States Navy possess that I haven't seen yet that's going to defeat the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians in the Strait of Hormuz and in the international waters that surround Iranian soil so that they can put American troops on the ground? They don't. They don't have any of that. And as for this air superiority, we have reported on the stealth fighters that have been downed. And the last attempted ground invasion of Iran ended with dead young Americans, charred remains when they crashed and burned on Iranian soil in C-130s and fighter jets. I guess with heavy excavation equipment, they were going to try to pull off a uranium heist because that's what they want. Just like they stole the uranium from the United States, the Talmudists want to steal the Iranian uranium. And it was unsuccessful. Young American men went to die in a botched uranium heist. And they're trying to figure out a way to do this. The only way to do it is by a ground invasion, a successful one. Successful being the key word. And how many young American men would it take to do that? How many troops would it take? 500,000, 500,000? I think that's low. Honestly, I think that's low. There's been people that have talked about, insurrections in this country. And people have flown around, it would take 3 million armed men. If 3 million armed men occupied Washington, D.C. for 24 hours, all of our problems would be solved. Okay, well, they arrived at 3 million, which I think is probably about right. When you consider that the military has received, training that the average American hasn't, when you consider that those 3 million Americans would not be accompanied by fighter jets, air support, laser painting targets, directed energy weapons, all of these things. Yeah, okay, maybe 3 million there. would translate into, I don't know, 500,000 or 1 million that does possess all of that equipment. But no matter what way you slice it, this war, which on day one we were told would just be a matter of days before it was over, then it turned into a week, then it was a couple weeks, and now here we are. But the war is just not bringing in the ratings anymore because the corporate media is not allowed to talk about it because of the lack of success by the enforcement arm of
Yep, so you got to fake a pandemic
which is the
again.
United States military. And so now the propagandists are looking for a new story that they can get the goyim all excited about.
Yep.
Cue Trump's trip to China.
Yeah, here we go.
And they are going nuts over this. Actually, we've talked about Jesse Waters. This guy's insane. And we have this clip queued up here. It's this absolutely ridiculous segment from Jesse Waters on
Wonder
Fox
if he's
News,
falling down the
in which he
stairs
says
like
that the
Biden.
Trump team has assembled some kind of a super special dream team to go
The
to
dream
China
team
and
is in
accomplish
the
something.
house.
He's really quite sure
Ladies
what it is
and
that they're looking to
gentlemen.
accomplish. But they say they're going to accomplish something.
Fox News alert, wheels up. Air Force One's on the way
Fox
to Beijing. The commander-in-chief
News.
preparing for a high-stakes meeting with Xi Jinping. China's already rolling out the red carpet because the president's bringing the dream team. Rubio, Hegseth,
The dream team
and Scotty
is
Bennett.
in the
Rubio's
house.
been banned and sanctioned by the Chinese for 6 years, and they just lifted it. He's clear. And the president's bringing the best and brightest. 16 CEOs, including from Apple,
You mean
Boeing, Goldman,
retards.
Visa, all flying west. Even Elon's making the trip. Just like the Middle Times. Hoda says we make a lot of money with China and is using
Dummy,
it as a big business opportunity. But the two will have a lot to talk about. AI, Taiwan, and obviously
AI
Iran.
for dummies,
It's just like this propaganda from Fox News gets worse and worse every day. Every single night, it gets more absurd.
Yep.
It's
Fox
embarrassing. Jesse Waters
News.
sounds like he's talking to an audience of toddlers in diapers. You know, like they're at some daycare somewhere, or there's just like this living room
Yep.
filled with
Adult
toddlers
babies.
on the floor sitting crisscross applesauce in their diapers listening to
Mamas,
Jesse
don't
Waters'
let
newscast.
cowboys turn
Propaganda
out
fest.
to
That's not
be
really not news,
babies.
that's propaganda.
They'll
You know,
just
it's
go
probably
on
not meant for
Fox
toddlers, but
News
it is
and
meant for
be
people
dumb
in diapers.
fucks.
It's being directed at people in diapers. It's being directed at boomers who sit in front of their TV all day long, who sit at their goy trough all day, sucking down their Fox News propaganda
Yep,
just as soon as it
loaded
gets piped into their
diapers.
living room. They wake up in the morning, they turn it on, it's on all day. It's on in the evening time, their prime time. What's going on now? It's just embarrassing. And don't worry, guys, in case you thought that this trip to China was going to be all work, it's not. Everybody gets their little playtime. The dream team is going to take some time to have a little bit of fun. Little Marco Rubio's even getting to play a little bit of dress up. He might be disappointed because, at least according to the public photos that we've seen, he hasn't been able to put on a skirt. But second best, he dressed up like the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. He dressed up in the same Nike tracksuit that Maduro was wearing when he was kidnapped and photographed by the United States government and put all over Fox News so that Paul Singer and a bunch of other Jewish war profiteers could take their oil supply and ship it off to Israel, which is exactly what's happened. But look at this. He's wearing the exact same tracksuit. Now, I mean, the picture is cringeworthy enough on its own. But as always, it gets even worse. There's more to all of this than just a picture or a tracksuit or Marco Rubio pretending to be Nicolas Maduro, because the Trump administration's obsession with Venezuela has taken yet another turn. Did you see this? Trump posted this picture on Truth Social of Venezuela
There it
covered
is.
in an American flag with a caption reading 51st state. So at the very same time that they're pretending to go shake down China, at the very same time that they're waging an illegal and unjust war in the Middle East on behalf of Israel and Iran, the Trump administration is openly planning an invasion and a regime change and annexation of Cuba,
Yep.
and now they're openly talking about the annexation of Venezuela. And this is nothing new. Just a few weeks ago, it was Pete Hegseth telling military commanders that Donald Trump, or the people who are handling Donald Trump, has drawn a line around the map of North America. And this line on this map that he probably scribbled in a crayon, it goes way beyond North America as you know it. It runs from Greenland all the way to Venezuela. The land that this administration's owners say that they want to seize control of and roll into an expanded version of the United States called, you know, Greater North America, or maybe the Technate of America, or whatever trendy, cute little name they want to give it. But anyway you cut it, it's a super state that collapses America's borders and turns the American people into a tiny minority in our own country. And that super state, by the way, would be subservient to the super state of Greater Israel. These people are calling themselves America First, by the way. And at the same time, they are plotting the physical destruction of the United States as we know it, and the American people. I mean, these people don't care. They don't care about you. They hate you. They do not care about you. They do not think about you. Actually, Donald Trump just recently told that to the media himself. Play it, clip number 13.
Yep. They don't care about us.
Mr. President, to what extent are American financial decisions motivating you to make a deal?
Not not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about America's financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that matters.
Well, there it is. In case you were hoping, in case you thought, in the back of his mind, he's always thinking about the American people. He's thinking about the outrageous cost of diesel fuel and refined gasoline. He's got that in the back of his head. He's got a plan for that because he cares about the American people. He understands the cost of goods is breaking the collective back of the American people. And in the back of his mind, he's working on that. There's a plan for that. No,
he'll just tell you to shut the fuck up, like you did about the eggs. Just shut the fuck up about the fucking high-ass gas prices. Kiss Israel's butt. Suck up to Donald Trump. Watch Fox News and shut the fuck up. That's what he'll tell you. And these Edomites, they fucking know that, right? I mean, that's a whistleblower right there. Stu Peters Network, who has been often critic of the Israeli state, even been shown by Alex Jones and others that claim to be whistleblowers, right? They claim to be, but hasn't gone as far as him, That's why, he kind of stands alone. U.S. has restarted jungle warfare in Panama after 25 years. Yeah, because he's got a greater America. Great America? Yeah, you could say that this includes taking all those other places, turning them into states, and, of course, to make it one huge continent and all these little sub-islands, etc., as part of the Israeli states of America. U.S. has restarted jungle warfare in Panama after 25 years. At Rainforest Training Center in Nocolon, U.S. terrorists practice survival techniques, patrol operations, casualty evacuation, like Bear Grylls, right? With Panamanian forces. The environment is intentionally unforgiving. Thick jungle, venomous snakes, relentless insects, and terrorists often depend on machetes to move through dense terrain. So, this renewed training effort reflects a wider shift under President Trump, whose administration, which might say, there are drug cartels down there, right? Like Cocaine Bear, etc., right? But they don't tell you that the cocaine's coming from America into those places. It's being imported into Cuba and all those places. No, they tell you that it was Venezuela, as an excuse to overthrow Maduro and to come out to Colombia, when in fact Colombia themselves has actually proven that all the drugs are coming out of Florida into Colombia. So, supposed, what do you call those? Narco-terrorists, right? This approach represents a coercive, multi-faced new imperialism, combining military threats with trade pressure and diplomatic leverage. So, like everything else, they have plans. And definitely, we know that he wants to colonize and take over Cuba peacefully, they call it. Trump's terrorism czar just labeled Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes as domestic terrorists. Why? Because they dare to criticize Donald Trump. Alex Jones breaks down the new 2026 counterterrorism strategy released by Trump's White House. So here we go. We'll play some of that. I don't know if this is... it's not a... Oh, here it is.
Who would be considered more of a traitor to their country? Person A, who receives $230 million from a foreign lobby, or person B, who receives $0 from a foreign lobby?
I mean, clearly person A.
Wrong.
Come on, that's got to be correct.
Next, hypothetical question. If a country has a major shipping waterway that you want to have open, and it's currently open, but they'll close it if you go to war, what would be a smart way to ensure that waterway stays open?
You don't go to war with them.
No, not even close. Common sense would say go to war with that country and stay at war with that country as a way of putting pressure on them to reopen
Yeah,
it
welcome to
after
Panama.
they've closed it because you went to war with them.
Are you playing with a full deck?
I don't play cards, but thanks for asking. Oh, and this is a good one. If you had the desire to take down an international pedophile ring, what would be the best way to follow through on that desire?
Well, you launch a full investigation using every means necessary, and then you prosecute those bastards the fullest extent of the law
Wrong. No. You would launch an effort to prevent any investigations and prosecutions.
That can't be right.
That's what he has done, is gaslit everyone. Yeah, I remember that. It was on a previous video. But you can see, though, that he has futures for the Panama, you know. Just to take all of the North America strip, because if you remember older maps, it shows, you know, of course, Greenland a part of it, Canada, all those other, well, he doesn't just want all the way down to Mexico, which includes Panama, etc., you know, the whole loop that touches South America. He wants all of the North America region, for that matter. But he's also taken some of South America, too. Yeah, if he could get Brazil, he would, but he would have to deal with Russia, but not like he ain't dealing with Russia. U.S. futures higher as we await color on Trump Xi Jinping summit, as U.S.-Iran negotiations are said to be ongoing. Hormuz should reopen without toll or militarization. The countries will look increase investment. So basically, he's trying to put pressure on China to pressure Iran to open up the strait. Open up the fucking strait, or we'll blow you to oblivion. Well, his posturing hasn't really caused Iran to capitulate at all. So he figures, oh, well, we'll threaten, you know, trade tariffs, right? To which we can also add tech. As of 800 hours Eastern Time, S&P futures are up 0.3%, where NASDAQ rises 0.2%. You know, basically threatening them with tariffs. Oh yeah, that makes them want to deal with you, you know, just act like a little bitch. And I'm sure they want to deal with your little funky ass, bitch. Right? But just get into this occult banking system, because it's all about fuckery, you know, and you know, the more money you borrow, that somehow helps you climb the so-called ladder. Yeah, an occult banking system is based upon borrowing, never paying it back. Just keep on borrowing.
Alright, Shalom. Kohalo Eli, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Hamshai, Ba'ashem, Bakah, Kwadash, Dabar, Nasa, Pastor, Ezra, Millstone, Shalom, Taho, Falek. This is Brady Call from Gino's Student Camp. Lord willing, this is going to be a part 2 to the other video I did. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a part 2, but like I said, after watching the video, fully finishing Elias Rama's video, and then going to watch the actual video myself, right here, you see an anonymous official. This is one of the most important videos on YouTube. Pay attention to this, right? You see it was posted a year ago. Again, that's the title. I found it, just really simply looked up anonymous official, the most important video, and it popped up. So I'm going to actually play the actual original source, though. Let me get a preset again, because again, there's more information that he was bringing out in a lesson, as well as on this. I don't know if it's in this clip, but he was bringing out more information as well in the video. It's 11 minutes. I'm going to play the majority of it, but I have 3 precepts to grab. I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one again, the same one I got in part 1. But again, there's some good information going into how, even though when you go the banking, the bankers, and we always talk about the bankers and the banking families and Rothschilds and Rockefellers, you know, we all know that they're the banking family. They control the monetary system, and as well as the left-hand priesthood. Okay, they worship Satan, right? And then again, in part 1, I was going into you know, how they're doing the same things in the past about the left-hand priesthood. I didn't even know that. This is that blueprint of the bankers being in charge and being part of the being the heads of the system. That's nothing new. Again, that's part of the Canaanites. They were doing the same thing. So there's some good information. I don't think it's in this clip. They even say, that's why I advise you go watch the Elias Rama's video. But he even brought out either my Jordan Maxwell was bringing it out. The fact that even the word Canaan, you go to the beginning of Cain, whatever, or Khan or whatever it was, it even means like bank. You know, so it's good information, man. So let me go. It's like I'm kind of talking fast too. I'm trying to get to the video because it is like 11 minutes. But we start Ecclesiastes 1-9. The thing that had been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It had been already of old times which was before us, man. So this same system, this banking system that's ruled by these Satan worshippers who are part of the, you know, they believe in the occult, they do all these witchcraft practices and Freemasonry, and they control the world that way. This is nothing new, all right? All the ancient heathens did this. So I'm going to get, okay, mainly say going back to them Hamites and Canaanites. So let's go into this, man.
Whatever you want to call them, have the banking system, or the banksters or gangsters or whatever you want to call them, have collectively through thousands of years had set up a situation where they can manipulate people to superimpose a legal system that is not based entirely on law, it's based on commerce. And as we'll get into it, I'll explain that we are not operating in a common law system anymore. although the common law is still here, and we need to understand how to access it and how to use it to our advantage. But most people, unfortunately, are so ignorant of what the law is or what the codes are or what the statutes actually say and how they particularly apply to them. They just are used to functioning in a consensus reality that, oh, well, at 18 or 16, everyone gets a driver's license, and, when I work, everyone fills out a 1040 IRS tax form, or because he said, or because your parents said, or because your parents were particularly indoctrinated in a system where everyone is functioning perpetually in this let's pretend game. The whole system is set up about one thing: money, because the banks, through their politicians...
Yeah, and say I'm not going to pause often. I'm kind of going to let it play out. Like I said, I got two precepts to get the end. But like I said, again, money. Esau Edom, he really... so scriptures talk about the Psalms. It tells you, this is the man... Let me look for that real quick. This is Psalms 52 and verse 7. Lo, this is the man that made not God his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches, and strengthened himself in wickedness. That's Esau Edom to a motherfucking T, man. He made not the Most High, how about Shemel Shai his strength. He trusted in the abundance of his riches. He worships money. All right, he worships, he uses the satanic infrastructure to tap into the left-hand side and worship money, but he dehumanizes people. All right, now, like I said, even though the heathen, right, they're made to be our servants, there's still a level of humanity people treat people with. But Esau, what he treats people as is complete human resources. He has people working for money, and not money working for them, so to speak, if that makes sense. He has everybody addicted to this stupid system that he set up. Like I said, because these heathen before, they did it, but through this modern day technology, this digital system, he's perfecting it. He's trying to perfect it even more with the mark of the beast. This is all relevant. It ties into the mark of the beast that's going to be put inside you, because again, that's all being controlled and dominated by Esau's financial system. His wicked ass system, man. All right, everybody's scrambling to. He made life instead of money being a tool that you're using life that everybody has access to a certain extent to be able to take care of themselves. He made life all about money. Everybody just scrambling to get these fake Federal Reserve notes, man. All right, they try to just get by. They try to survive. Absolute wickedness, man. So he trusted in the abundance of his riches and strengthened himself in wickedness, man. It's a very, very wicked system, a very deceitful system. Like I said, I'm not going to pause it much. Let's go ahead and get back into this, man. And rewind it a little bit.
In a system where everyone is functioning perpetually in this let's pretend game. The whole system is set up about one thing: money. Because the banks, through their politicians and legislational system, they set up a body of laws to further extract money, or set up a system that money is always flowing up. It's being extracted out of your bodies, out of your sweat equity, out of your labor. So the whole thing is based about one thing: commerce. And the system that we operate, if you understand admiralty, it's a very esoteric system, because the banking has been operating longer than 6,000 years, probably longer than recorded history, longer than...
That's bullshit. Again, 6,000 years, right? He's right about that, about money, etc. always been evolving for 6,000 years, because that's actually recorded history. All right, 6,000 years for creation to be created. Okay, the Lord had the Al-Hayan rest on the seventh day, which is the 7,000 year. The 6,000 plus 6,000 is 12,000. 12,000 years and 12,000 some change is about how old the earth is, man. Right? He's right about that, but there's no such thing as recorded history. Right? That's more Esau's bullshit.
Hammurabi, etc. But the mother is a vessel, or all of us are vessels, because our bodies are a warehouse, and you live within the confines of your skin if you take the concept that you're a spiritual being. Okay, so it's an energy vessel. So the mother is a vessel delivering a product, swimming down the rivers of the birth canal, and it's delivered to the dock, or the dock door. And what is it? It's delivery of a human resource, because that's all we're considered. And we're talking about money. You're a human resource. So what is money? It's energy. That's all it is. The system is set up that it's the control and flow of energy from generally the bottom up, the basis of the foundation of the people, up into the hands of the bankers that further perpetuate and dictate more laws to further extract money. And we'll demonstrate this in just a moment.
Looking for something on Google? You can search the web with real and organic search results, and do it with free endless feed. No limits of grab at.
Biology, and it's into energy.
And secure your data today.
So battery is pretty much what we're considered, if anyone has seen the Matrix. Our bodies are our vessel. It's where we store the energy. We eat food, its energy is transmuted from the sun, it goes up the food chain to study biology, and the energy is stored in our fat cells. Well, take a look at this. The nursery, in essence, if we're talking of the world of admiralty, and the ship pulling into the dock and getting to port, coming into port, and we're getting all this paperwork, and it's all about money, the nursery is an energy farm, or a monetary farm. It's a production house, kind of like the Matrix. So we're going to go into some definitions from the Law Dictionary, what these terms mean. And obviously I'm not making any of this up. If you look at Valentin's Law Dictionary, a human being is a monster. So that's what, when you walk into court, this is how they're looking at you. Let's take a look at what monster says. A monster is a human being by birth, but in some part resembling a lower animal. A monster has no inherent blood and cannot be the heir to any land, albeit it be brought forth in marriage. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Are we talking about a human being, which is in the law of admiralty or the law of banking? We're talking about a let's pretend game. This guy, it's on a piece of paper only. That's the certificate of live birth. That's the B-stroke 6. That's the let's pretend game. So the construct that is law has two kinds of people. In fact, the spiritual being you won't find a spiritual being in the Law Dictionary. But you'll find the definition of a person. But peculiar enough, the definition of a person, they try to get you caught up with a natural person. But how do you define a word with its own word? Isn't that's a peculiarity in itself? So, person includes a natural person, a firm, a co-partnership, or an association, or a limited liability company or corporation.
And so I hope you're following along. You're getting it again. This is like getting LDR one, but this it was so interesting and sparking me to actually watch one of the actual original videos he was bringing out, the one I'm playing right now, because it's so interesting. Again, that's why it was perfectly he entitled the lesson, "The Deaths of Satan." Because when you really read into this stuff, you're not taught this in school. Obviously not. Esau doesn't teach people this. Majority of people don't know this. So when you really get this information, you know what I'm saying, about how the occult and how it works, and the mind games and the fucking technicalities and the bullshit. Esau trying to redefine words and redefine what a human is. You really see again the depths of Satan. You see how wicked this man truly is, man. These elites are really sick in the head, man. They're really trying to say redefine the Most High. And how about Shah's creation? They're trying to re-identify and redefine and reclassify shit and play with words and new speak. Well, technically you're a person, but you're not technically a natural person. Well, there's a separation from the spirit and body, and so we document this, we count this in our law. It's just madness, bro. This is the depths of Satan, man. Bro, this is absolute. This is just complete. This is complete demonic, man. How Esau does this shit. How he purposely set up this society. Like I said, because again, these heathens did this in the past, but see, Esau has truly, the Lord allowed Esau to truly perfect this this demonic banking system that makes everybody slaves to the dollar. Okay, which is what they call it, to make everybody slave to the currency. He has truly perfected that in this final heathen empire. That's the reason why it's the final one, because it was the worst. It's the worst of all. So again, let's keep playing.
You'll find the definition of a person, but peculiar enough, the definition of a person, they try to get you caught up with a natural person. But how do you define a word with its own word? That's a peculiarity in itself. So, person includes a natural person, a firm, a co-partnership, or an association, or a limited liability company or corporation. The entire essence of the Let's Pretend game is to get you to be one of these things. A corporation, functioning in a state of fascism, in a limited liability world, a Let's Pretend game, where no one takes responsibility for their actions. So we get into the construct of what the physical world versus the legal world is. You have the world of land, which they try to superimpose this matrix body over, of the world of admiralty. In the Constitution, which is predicated upon common law, we deal in the world of gold and silver. What happened to that, guys? You know, now we're dealing with Federal Reserve notes, which a note, by definition, is evidence of a debt. And anyone heard of national debt? Or how about income tax? You know, all income tax does is go to pay national debt. It doesn't pay the streets. It doesn't pay the national debt with the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve came into act in 1913. You know, and that's a whole story in itself. And the taxes that are generated as a result of using Federal Reserve notes, who collects that? The IRS. When were they started? The same year as the Federal Reserve, 1913. But guess where the IRS is based out of, guys? Puerto Rico. It's not even an agency of the United States government. You know, that's a whole story in itself. So all money in society nowadays is generated as a result of your potential and what you put into the system. Because Federal Reserve notes, they have no value whatsoever. They're backed entirely on the full faith and credit of the U.S. population. So without you backing these things up, they have no value at all. So in order for you to use this money in society, you have to get up and work every day and put something into the system. And what you reap, you'll sow. The system cannot perpetuate itself without you. So what is the vehicle that is the courthouse? These entities or institutions or systems are the primary method or modality, or one of the primary methods or modalities, by which your sweat equity is extracted out of you on a consistent basis. Traffic tickets and parking tickets are the #1 generators of indirect taxation or revenue in the state of California. Period. If you look at the numbers, you will be appalled. So, check this out.
See that? Let's play that again so you can hear this, man. I might get this precept, man. Much wicked oppression. This is and so when you listen to this shit, it's like, man, wow. Again, what's the word? PSA. Second, this is the 11th chapter. This is talking about the Roman Empire. This whole chapter is talking about the Roman Empire. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. I'm qualifying the scripture. This whole chapter is talking about the Roman Empire. It's not talking about America. But again, we know what? If you go to scriptures, you know, go to Daniel. That daily wound of the Roman Empire was healed through America, Babylon the Great. So Rome come back. The demonic, the Roman Empire came back through what? The current mystery Babylon the Great, so-called North America. And one of the verse I'm gonna get right here. Verse 40. Because I'm gonna start at verse 39 actually. Because again, America, is ruled in the same way Rome was. It's just more technologically advanced now, right? 2 Kings 11 verse 39. Are not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts whom I made to reign in my world? Right, the Lord made Esau to reign in his world, which it was all part of the plan. The Lord he planned for a wicked age. He planned for the sons of God to watch the world reign wickedly and actually experience the consequences and see how the world without the Lord's wisdom, how is miserable it is, and how out of order it is, how dysfunctional it is, and how it just leads to oppression, depression, suppression, and just chaos everywhere, right? So he made them reign in his world. Lord created Esau because of what Lord had created all things, even the wicked for the day of evil, right? So Lord created this devil, all right? It says, are not thou it that remains of the 4 beasts whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? All right. So again, we're in the extension of the fourth beast. The fourth beast was what, Rome. All right. But we got the extension of the fourth beast. That's right. That's in the statue of Daniel. Talking about the iron mixed with miry clay. Right. Toes. Verse 40, and the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past. Right, again, it's talking about the Roman Empire. But again, I'm using this, again, I'm qualifying it. Again, it's talking about the Roman Empire. But I'm getting the same thing. This is Rome all over again, right? This is Rome with more technology, and Esau got this banking system even more of a grip on the world now. It says it had power over the earth. It overcame all the second 11:40, and the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past. It had power over the world with great fearfulness, right? That military might, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, right? Because Esau's military might, it was mighty as hell in the Roman Empire, but it's even more mightier now. Esau and Edom today would wipe the floor with the ancient Roman military, man. He wouldn't even have to fight him on the ground. He would come straight Apache helicopter, fucking minigun, 2 miniguns on the side, mowing them down from the sky. Drop an airstrike on them. Fighter jets dropping airstrikes on them, man. Carpet bombs, nuclear bombs. He would absolutely wipe the floor with the ancient empire. So again, this is talking about Rome, but again, America, Rome coming back is even more greater than this now, right? It says, with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. This is wicked oppression, man. This is beyond, yes, the physical Esau, tying Jacob and whipping Jacob. This is absolutely wicked. This motherfucker did this shit. And Esau so wicked, he got his own people stuck in his banking system, man. Slaves to the fucking Federal Reserve note. This shit's not even real money, man. All right? It says, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time though he upon the earth with deceit. That's why I was going to say what? I'm going to get that in Sirach 10. I'm going to get that after this. Sorry, I tell you, I can get it real quick. I'll come back. Sirach 10, 10 and 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another, right? Riches got by deceit, man. All right? Unrighteous dealing. That's Esau eating his banking system. That's exactly what it is, bro. All right? Let's go back to this because I said you're going to hear some more in the video about his riches got by deceit. So again, 2 Kings 11:40, and the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, the Roman Empire. Again, Rome came back to America. He had power over the world with great filthiness and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. Yeah, telling everybody he's the fucking Jewish. Who are the bankers? Who are the bankers? The so-called Jewish people. The fake imposters, man. Telling people he's God's chosen people. He's the Israelites. The God, Heavenly Father and the Son look like so-called white men. They look like him. Lies, man. Just deceit. Verse 41, for the earth has thou not judged with truth. Esau either man ain't fucking judging the earth with truth. All right? Just like he was in the Greek and the Roman Empire. He's doing the same thing today. For thou hast afflicted the meek. Okay, the Israelites. Thou hast hurt the peaceable. Thou hast loved liars. Right? All these motherfuckers, from the least, the politicians, to the governors, to the presidents, to anybody, to the CEOs, to the celebrities, and Hollywood. Okay, which was again, I was bringing out part one, the Hollywood. All right, the fucking the riches and royal lives. They're all just liars, man. All right, deceit, put on a show, making shit up, false history, all type of different shit. It says, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and have cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Esau Edom, he's just a fucking maniac, man. He just wants to go through the earth, rape, robbing, and murdering, man. All right? It's a spirit. I just saw something earlier today. Remember we had that movie Avatar, with the blue people? What was that? That was a representation of Esau Edom, Christopher Columbus and them devils coming over here to the quote-unquote New World, to the Americas, the Western Hemisphere of the world, and rape, robbing, and murdering, and stealing the land from the so-called indigenous peoples, from the so-called Native Americans, man. That's what we are. That's what the blue people, that's what they really look like, right? It's Esau coming over here to slaughter the Northern Kingdom, and you have these devils trying to justify them devils in the movie. Motherfuckers, they came to a whole planet that wasn't theirs to steal their resources, was all slaughtering them, blowing up nature and all this shit, right? And they was these devils try to justify that, man. Why? Because that's in their spirit. That's what they are. They want to just steal, down 10:10, the thief comes not, but to steal, kill, and destroy, man. That's all he wants to do. It says, has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Esau Edom, he's always the aggressor, but he always wants to call everybody else a terrorist. He'll attack you first.
Yeah, look at what he's done to the rainforest in South America.
I'm going to break in. I'm going to come to your land and start raping your women. But how dare you defend yourself? You're a terrorist. You're a savage. That's Esau, bro. All right? It says, and he destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit. Right? Yeah, he did that. Then the Greek Empire, Antiochus IV. All right? And those devils, as well as the Roman Empire. They was constantly persecuting the saints, man. The Israelites actually believed, man, who was actually worshiping Yahweh Shai, man. The direct followers of Yahweh Shai was getting brutally tortured, man. All right, as we go to the Roman candles, Nero was burning the men and women believers, okay, having a fucking dinner feast while we burn on the goddamn cross behind them, man. All right? It says, therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty, right? So the Lord sees everything Esau's been doing. We're almost to that point where the Lord's about to put it into this double shit, man. And it's going to be, and there's a reason why Esau has such a grip and control, like I said earlier about him perfecting the system. Because why? Because the Lord planned for this, because the Lord's going to put it into this through the Messiah coming back, the great second coming, okay, who the Lord in calls Jesus Christ, Yahushua Mashiach in the Hebrew. who's a so-called black man, he's going to come back, he's going to redeem the elected people, the Israelites, okay, the true 12 tribes of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, the elected among them. He's going to judge the heathen, man, primarily Esau, Edom. It says, it says, verse 44, the highest also have looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled, right? Which again, that happened when Esau lost control of the Roman Empire, and you had the Israelite, the Judite Caesars that was coming to power. Then Esau, he got drove up into the caves, all right? Rome got, the pagan Roman Empire got broken down, all right? And then Jake started coming to power, and that goes into the history of Europe, XYZ, all right? You got the Holy Roman Empire, right? When Esau wasn't in charge anymore, right? So the Lord did that, but then he allowed Esau to come back up. That's why Scripture said what? After 1,000 years, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. We're in that time right now. Okay, we're after the so-called dark ages when Israelites were in rulership in Europe, etc. Then Esau come back into power during the Renaissance period, and we've been living in Esau's age since then. Okay, we're at the very end of that. So the Lord's getting ready to end this devil. Let's go back to this.
Traffic tickets and parking tickets are the #1 generators of indirect taxation or revenue.
And that's you see the pictures of Macy's and shit like from old school. It's the same thing today, man. And as people always say, leave these cops. They're not here to serve the people. They're not here to keep people safe. They're literally here to protect the interests of the banking families, man. All right, whether they know it or not. But that's why they have Sirach 10. They say as a ruler of the city is such all. As a ruler of the city, such all they dwell therein, right? That's why the elites are corrupt. That's why everybody who has any type of authority in the Esau system is corrupt, man. These cops are corrupt. They literally don't. You got some cops who may be decent, whatever, right? But you got a lot of cops, that's why they have that vibration. You're harassing people and looking down upon people and just giving the common man a hard time. Why? Because that's their job from the elites, man. All right, that's literally what they said to do, man. You hear what they said. Majority of the money that California makes is leave from fucking traffic tickets, man, and parking tickets. That's a lot of fucking money, bro. So that's what these cops do. They purposely try to hide. Okay, it's heavy here in Ohio as well. Depending on what city you're in, they'll try to hide in certain areas, you know what I'm saying, try to catch people speeding. They're literally just they're not trying to keep the streets safe. They're literally just all about making a quota, man. They're all about trying to make a certain amount of money every month handing out fucking tickets, bro. It's just a wicked, like I said, just wicked oppression, much wicked oppression, man.
Modality, or one of the primary methods or modalities by which your sweat equity is extracted out of you on a consistent basis. Traffic tickets and parking tickets are the #1 generators of indirect taxation or revenue in the state of California. Period. If you look at the numbers, you will be appalled. So, check this out. You have a courthouse, Masonic Lodge. Looks kind of similar, right? Courthouse, Masonic Lodge. You have a courthouse, and you have a Masonic Lodge. Okay, you have a judge, and you have his gavel, right? What is this? A Masonic gavel. So, what I'm trying to say, and I'm not going to get into a big Masonic presentation here, I'm just setting you up or to inspire you all to do a little investigation as to what the system that we're operating under today is founded upon. Who were the founders? Who were the founding fathers really? Were they a great bunch of guys, as we were told in our history classes? Or was there a greater plan? Was there a grand dynamic? The great work? What were they aiming to achieve? And if you do a little investigation, you'll find out that it's about one thing: business. But where does all the money go? Marvin Breyer. And that's the man that found out. Marvin Breyer is an I don't want to say Bank of America employee, but he worked for one of their subsidiaries. And he's a COBOL programmer. And he's the guy that designed the foundational computer systems, or the code that transfers all money and etc. and balances the books at the end of each day. So what Marvin did is he did a little homework. He tracked the money that was being raised from the court, and where all the funds and all the money that he was paying into the court system for fines or just court docket filings, all going into slush funds, guys, without exception. If you track the funds that are paid to the court, the funds are going into different accounts as opposed to where they're mandated by legislature. Instead, they go into private accounts associated with the Judges Association. However, it's really interesting about what the Judges Associations are. And you can look at any court system in America, namely, we like to particularly look at Los Angeles because a lot of us are originally from there, and done a lot of investigation over there. But the Judges Association, if you talk to them, try to find out who they are, they're allegedly a tax-exempt organization. However, they're not registered at all with the IRS. Period. They fall under a 508 category. The IRS turns a complete blind eye to the fact that they haven't properly registered, but they're amassing tons of these funds. Okay, so you'll find out why. You go to tax court, or you go to court based on willful failure to file, or you're not paying your fair share, etc. Why you bring in proper legal arguments or issues as a matter of law, and they throw you into the wood chipper. Why? Because they're all working in harmony together, in concert. Okay, so the Judges Association, what do these guys do? They raise bonds. They create debt without taxpayer approval. So the money that is paid to the Judges Association is used to pay off anonymous bonds. Okay? The anonymous bonds are issued through Merrill Lynch and other associations. And we have paperwork that demonstrates this. Marvin got a judge thrown in jail and prosecuting attorneys, and there's more on the way. Because, you ever heard of judicial immunity? You don't sue the judge, you sue his association. Or you find the evidence of the wrongdoing through Public Records Act request, so you trace the money on the check. And then you present the data to the grand jury, and they got investigated. And then they got a problem. So, as a result, Credit Suisse and Bank of America are the primary underwriters on those bonds. And a company by the name of DTC, Department of Trust Corporation, controls the bonds. But guess what? DTC is ran by the Federal Reserve board members. If you take a look at who's on the payroll, it's all a complex matrix. And how do they want you to pay? You're not using gold or silver to pay at the courts. I tried to pay them. They don't take the stuff. I try to use all kinds of stuff at the courts, guys, but they want that Federal Reserve note product, a private product that's set up under a sham situation 1913, set up the same time as the IRS 1913, and there's some other agencies which I won't mention that were set up in 1913 too, which is a little kooky.
Yeah, man. Like I said, Lord, that was edifying, man. Give all praise and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Hashab, Ba'Shem, Makakadash, the bonds and apostles, great millstone. Shalom to hope for leg, man. We need salvation, man. Shalom.
And like everything else, though, they eventually want to put a tracking device in everyone. That way they always get the money as if they wasn't already. But they just want these newly devices to where, you don't have to take a record or anything now. You just, it's automatically deducted. Boom, just like that. Kind of like auto bill pay, and then if they want to take up more, I mean, gym memberships are notorious for this, right? Okay, you signed a deal, right? It's like $15 a month, right? Of course, there's the annual year, Like, I'm just giving you an example of Planet Fitness, which was the cheapest one. But there's other ones, there's an annual fee, but then you find out that there's a monthly fee as well. Then you find out that on auto bill pay, zoop, your yearly's come in. It's over $200 for that yearly, because you didn't know it was there in auto bill pay. Now you're overdrawn. Yeah, I've seen it happen with my own eyes. And auto bill pay is another way. Well, what do you think the tracking chip is going to do? Everything's going to be on auto bill pay. And that's where you're automatically fucked. You're automatically fucked because you're going to find yourself insufficient funds. So things are just not going to go through. As if that ain't happening enough already, it's just going to be worse. The war against Iran has become a turning point in the post-Cold War order. The Strait crisis has changed the calculations of every major power. And this is the beginning of World War III. I don't call it the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. I call it, World War III because you got, Iran is a major player. These are world powers. And everybody has to pick a side. The U.S. and Israeli attack against Iran in February and their subsequent failure to achieve their objectives already changed the strategic calculations of every major power. West Asia has always been one of the most unstable regions in the world, thanks to the establishment of the Israeli state it has. However, the instability of West Asia viewed as manageable, these conflicts were bloody, but they didn't threaten the foundation of the international system itself, even at the height of the Cold War. This region was seen by the great powers as an arena for competition rather than a place where they would risk everything. But this is the Most High that's doing it. This is the Most High that's doing them and gathering them all there to go to war over there. You see, not even Hitler was interested in that. He was actually leaving Iraq and all those places alone. Hitler was more interested in, Libya and all those areas, The German forces never even went into Iraq. That's an even longer story. But they pretty much... and they were defeated there, of course. But nonetheless, though, no regional state possessed the capacity to impose a revolutionary political project on the wider world. In this sense, West Asian conflicts resemble a permanent wound in international politics, painful, dangerous, but ultimately containable. The most immediate consequence of the U.S.-Israeli war of terror against Iran became economic. Tehran's response, particularly in the disruption of shipping through the Strait and attacks against American terrorists in the Gulf, sent shockwaves through global markets. So like everything else, this is where the Third World War will take place. If you hadn't seen that was the beginning of World War III, and it still is, because this is going to go on and on. But they ran out of ammo. They ran out of supplies. The U.S. exhausted most of their ammunition in this war. So they have to be able to regather. So that's why these talks keep on failing. Plus, to fulfill the prophecy, you have to get rid of the oil completely. Because when the oil's all gone, troops, they'll be there, but the bigger thing that's going to happen is that these missiles will be delivered. Yeah, the weapons will be ready to go. And there's 200,000 of these, as you would say, hypersonic intercontinental ballistic missiles. And they're going to be fired from the four corners of the earth. Europe's dependence on LNG, which is also known as liquefied natural gas, to surge. European Union's dependence on LNG from the U.S. is set to rise significantly. Well, because like everything else, though, Trump's got to raise tariffs because he's a fucking asshole. Reaching 80% of all LNG imports in 2 years. The Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis warned. LNG imports from the U.S. and the EU account for 58% of all LNG imports. And you already know what happened. The U.S. raised tariffs the moment that Trump got into office. This year, the U.S. will become the European Union's biggest supplier of liquefied gas, even as the bloc also gobbles up every ton of Russian LNG it can buy ahead of the 2027 ban against Russian energy imports. So, pretty much this is a ticking time bomb as well. 2027 ain't too far. We're in 2026 now. So you see what's happening, though. Everything could be over by 2027, but we're going to see a lot of shit this year, too. They're going to push for the MOTB just like Apostle Tahar was going into. Saudi oil production falls to lowest since 1990 amid Hormuz disruption. So like everything else, though, Saudi Arabia is hurting financially, which is why United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia and the U.S. are all at each other's throat because their industry is really impacted by the failure of the U.S. to subdue Iran. They couldn't subdue them. Saudi Arabia informed OPEC that its crude oil production dropped sharply in April to the lowest level since 1990. According to monthly OPEC report cited by Bloomberg, Saudi production declined by 651,000 barrels per day last month, falling to 6.316 million barrels per day. This decline comes amid wider disruptions affecting Gulf oil exports after Iran imposed restrictions on the shipping through the strait. Pretty much so. It's because they were partners with the U.S. and anybody who supported the U.S. is going to pay for that. So yeah, Saudi Arabia is hurting big time. And the U.S. is the reason why. Because they backed the U.S. and they got screwed. U.S. used Kuwait's Bubiyan Island to target Iran during recent war. Well, of course. All these countries, like Iran said, were complicit in it. Now they're showing the evidence. New report says the U.S. used Kuwait's Bubiyan Island in the Persian Gulf to target Iran during the recent illegal war of aggression against the Islamic Republic. The anti-Iran attack from Bubiyan Island took place on the 24th of March, the report added. It also said footage released by the Americans themselves showing, in addition to Arjan and Burhan camps in Kuwait, the U.S. military launched attacks on Iranian territory outside the bases and even from residential areas. But they had the audacity to accuse Saddam of this. That's the funny thing. The U.S. accused Saddam of using weapons in civilian areas when the U.S. is guilty of it themselves. Gulf states attacked Iraq amid waning in faith in the U.S. So like everything else, though, Iraq was attacked by all these so-called allies, because Iraq has the Iraqi resistance forces, which are loyal to Iran, so of course all these other countries attacked Iraq due to it. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait reportedly struck militia targets after attacks linked to the Iran conflict. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait conducted covert strikes against targets in Iraq linked to Iranian-backed parliamentary groups during the war. According to the outlets, the strikes marked an independent response to attack on Gulf states' territory amid fading trust in the U.S. security umbrella. Well, the U.S. didn't protect them, they protect Israel. Kuwait summoned Iraq's representative 3 times over cross-border attacks during the war, while Saudi Arabia summoned Iraq's ambassador last month. Neither countries acknowledged strikes on Iraqi targets or responded to requests for comment. Well, covertly they were attacking Iraq too. They were pulled into it. Everybody's going to get pulled into this, if you can't tell. So when this does resume, everybody's going to be pulled into the conflict, because that's what the scriptures tell us. Odysee says, U.S. empire in decline, Iran will never bow down to pressure. And this is what he said when he recently did a trip, I believe, to India. Odysee made remarks as he delivered Noose speech at a 2-day meeting of the foreign ministers of BRICS members in New Delhi on Thursday, hosted by Minister Jishka, Minister of External Affairs of India. It's a fragile reality. Imperial power in decline wants to turn back the clock and is desperately lashing out on its own way down. It ought to be clear that Iran is unbreakable and only emerges stronger and more united under pressure. While ready to fight with everything we have in defense of our freedom and our soil, we are equally ready to pursue and defend diplomacy, he added. He noted that the U.S. and Israeli state carried out 2 brutal and unlawful justified acts of aggression against Iran in less than a year, using false claims to run, to counter the informed assessments of the International Atomic Agency, even America's own intelligence. So, this is some of what the meeting looked like. Because Iran is a BRICS member, so is Saudi Arabia. This is where it gets interesting, though. Which I also know that Turkey is also a BRICS member, so this is where it's going to get interesting. Everybody is going to be going to war soon over there. It's just that, okay, they still got to usher out the system. They got to get everything digitalized. And yes, Iran is definitely digital, crypto. So everybody's going to have a chip. That's what it is at the end of the day. And they're going to roll out this system amidst the build-up to the final war, which we're already at the beginning of the final war. It's just they have to usher in the MOTB first, and we can see that happening big time. Iran urges BRICS to condemn U.S.-Israeli state for war, exposing bloc divisions. Iran urged BRICS members to condemn what Tehran called the U.S. and Israeli violations of international law during 10th summit, overshadowed by the war against Iran. Iran's foreign minister urged BRICS nations on Thursday to condemn what he called violations of international law. Odysee criticized Washington, describing the war as illegal expansionism and warmongering, and said Iran remained open to diplomacy while being ready to defend itself with all available means. Iran therefore calls upon BRICS member states and all responsible members of the international community to explicitly condemn violations of international law by the U.S. and Israeli state, he said. So, and they can do that. So, the Israeli state is still continuing to build on, take more territory, because they're never satisfied. Don't keep it home, Ethnically cleansed Palestinian village that became an Israeli artist colony. Displaced Palestinians are now living near galleries and museums built inside the homes they lost in 1948. So basically their homes were just refined and turned into museums. The stone village of Ein Had sits on the slopes of Mount Carmel overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. Narrow winding roads, old cactus fences, and galleries are scattered between preserved Palestinian homes. What kind of protection does a peaceful, liberal artist village need? She recalled asking. So basically, they turned their homes into museums, as you can see here. So, They're using one of the highest forms of human expression and documentation on the remains of other people. So, I guess we'll play some of that.
The wonderful childhood was gone. We became refugees. Literally a few days before we left Jaffa, there was a bunch of attacks, a whole series of attacks that were part not just of attacking Jaffa, but attacking every strategic city and town and village in Jaffa. And by that time, at least 40 or 50 different massacres had taken place, less than 10 days before we actually left Jaffa. There was an attack and a bombing that took place where they brought 3 jeeps that were covered up with cars as if they were Austin 14s. 2 of them were loaded up with mines, and they drove them next door into a narrow street right next to the governor's residence in Jaffa, which was an orphanage with roughly 100 orphans, and they blew it up. And it essentially was on a Sunday morning, and it was flat, completely flattened out. Everyone that was in it was buried alive. That caused huge panic. My father at that time said, "There's really no chance, we need to get out." And he got us tickets on a ship, which was called the SS Argentina, which was scheduled, the passenger and cargo ship, scheduled to go from Jaffa to Beirut. The ship arrived in Jaffa port, but the Jewish gangs who were in Tel Aviv were throwing projectiles at it, and the captain decided it was too close to the shore, so he moved it further out to sea. We took one of those boats with very few of our belongings. There must have been over 10,000 people trying to get out of Jaffa, out of the Jaffa port, packed. But we finally made it to this cargo sailing boat, which was anchored approximately half a kilometer outside of the port of Jaffa. We were like sardines, but not sardines that were like this. We were all sitting like this. Anyone who stood up couldn't get down and sit down. There were over 3,000 people on that boat. Within less than 4 hours, we ran out of drinking water. In the first night, there was a storm, and a big storm, and there was a British frigate that came out to see us, and they shot all of their huge lights against us. And I remember, as a kid, I was wondering, who are they? People said they're the British. What did they want to do with this? They just wanted to know who they were. Once they found out that we were Palestinians and we were running away, they left us alone. The following day, a woman less than probably 4 meters away from me, who was pregnant, aborted. She lost her baby. And immediately a group of women came around her, a group of men outside the women to protect her and so on, and they helped her with the aborted baby. They said a prayer over it, they wiped the blood, or whatever they did, and they decided they would give the baby the burial at sea. Now, I was a kid of 15. This is something no kid should be put in a situation where he feels completely defenseless. Everybody believed this isn't happening. We should surely be back within 4 to 6, maximum 8 weeks. The world will not allow this kind of crime to take place. Well, the first thing that became clear after a while was that there was no way to get back to Palestine.
So there you go. That's a little excerpt there. And that's what's going to happen. See, we're going to be like refugees before Yahweh Shai returns. Meaning that we will not bow down. We're not going to take the MOTB. And we're going to be hunted down. They're going to cut off food and water supplies. The Most High is going to provide that for his elect anyways, because there's a promise there. Yes, we're going to go through some hard times, and yet, while the Most High is going to be providing us with a lot of things, we're still going to have to wait upon the Most High. In other words, getting everything, just by the turn of faucet and all that, you can count that out. But the Most High will make resources. What I mean by that is that it's not going to be as easy to get, but we're still going to get it. Because, this is where the faith comes in, Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10, because like everything else though, he's going to come like a madman sparing none, and there's going to be uprisings everywhere. Everybody's going to be turning against the government, etc. we're going to be, on the run ourselves. We're going to be refugees ourselves, aka homeless, as in, we're not sure where we're going to be next, just kind of like we were before in Egypt, which this is modern day Egypt. We're going to, we're going to get fed. We're going to have ways of getting the sources, but the sources is not going to be as convenient as they are now. Is the whole point. But Yahweh Shai promised this. From the words of Yahweh Shai, Revelation chapter 3, verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, meaning that you didn't change the doctrine, and that you remain steadfast, teaching the words of Yahweh Shai, I will keep thee from the hour of temptation which shall come upon the world to try them that dwell on the earth. And that is the MOTB. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast. In other words, don't give up the plow, that no man may take thy crown. Because yes, he's going to give you the power to overcome the things that are happening. Him that overcometh, will I make a pillar in the temple. Even if you have to die on this side, by the way. Yeah, they can kill your flesh. They just will not kill your spirit. You have a reward for remaining steadfast. And he shall go no more out, meaning that eventually there's going to come a time when we no longer have to go out and teach. Now write upon him the name of my power and the name of the city of my power, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my power, and I'll write upon him my new name. So, that's talking about when we're delivered from this place and when we get returned, becoming New Jerusalem, and that's after the destruction coming to Babylon. So, we're still doing what we can to secure our place there. So hopefully it's been edifying. Got one more here before I close this out. For them to say Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatam Jehovah elect. This is a small little clippet from Apostle Tahar. Esau, just get ready for slavery. Shalom. I may do this in 2 parts just because it's a little longer.
Shalom, doing all praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Nashai, Hashem, Kakodash, Shalom, 244,000, rest of the elect up to Shalom to all. Get ready for slavery, Esau. Revelation 13, 9 and 10, really 10. He that leaveth in captivity shall go into captivity. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 2. Them that oppressed us shall be oppressed instead. I'm merely paraphrasing. You can go to the King James or the NLT or the Amplified or the ESV. We may just do that. But Isaiah 14, verse 2, 1 says how the Israelites are going to come and go back to the land, and how we're going to oppress them that oppressed us. That we're going to enslave them that enslaved us. Now, these Edomites are already tasting slavery right now. You're going to see these Edomites crashing out. I didn't watch this whole video. I just watched up until this guy really was ready to jump out the window. Up until about her. And then I didn't watch him. But you people are already in captivity under Edomites, enslaving Edomites. So you're supposed to be still under the blessing. The super rich are still under the blessing that the Most High gave them. So this video, as you can see, is put up by GMS South Carolina 08. Esau is crashing out, and we are the Israelites. It first came out red all over like a hairy garment. They called his name Esau, race it away. They said the elder shall serve the younger. He's the elder son. To really get a full understanding, you got to accept the fact that you're an Edomite. Even the Edomite wrote a song and did a song, a pretty good song, about Edomites. So if anybody can find that song, you put it in the description, the chat or the description box or whatever. But this man's going down. Read Isaiah chapter 60. The whole chapter is about all the nations that are not Israelites going to be under Israelites as slaves. They're going to build things, they're going to do things, they're going to work out the field. You're getting mad because you're working, you're paying bills. Every time you turn around, as soon as you're living paycheck to paycheck. You're not making ends meet. And this is hurting you women too. You women that want to be single. Isaiah 4, it's been coming up a lot. Isaiah 4 and 1. Isaiah 32 verse 9 on down. You can really start from the first verse. The key point goes into like the 7th, really into the 9th verse. We're going to be the new the new people that reign over the earth, and you other nations are going to be our slaves. It's just that simple. You're not used to being slaves, so now the elites got you in slavery with this money system, because you don't understand the money system. Anyway, I just quoted a couple of scriptures. I didn't go to them. I don't make this long. I'm just going to let this play. So listen up and enjoy watching, listening.
Ain't never worried about fuel mileage necessarily. I'll make it work. That's the price you pay to drive a V8. But gas is $4.30 a gallon in my neck of the woods.
Oh, it's
okay?
cheap
That's
for
just
you.
regular gas. Okay, that ain't even premium.
Paying way more than that,
And now they're
bitch.
putting this E10 and E15 in it that is like literal cancer for old vehicles. It's like running a paint stripper through your fuel system. Okay, it's just not good for it. Okay. Well, I mean, what the fuck are y'all trying to do? You got flock cameras going up. You're making a mandate that all new vehicles made after 2026 have got to have cameras and kill switches and AI technology in them. Man, this is just not a fucking world I want to be a part of anymore. Like, it's just the more I think, the more shit that happens, the more shit you see on the news. Every time you get on social media, it's just more and more and more and more and more bullshit that they just keep on piling and piling and piling and piling and piling. It's like, God damn it, I'm about to fucking explode, man. Like, fuck, I don't want to do this shit no fucking more. God, I can't wait for the fucking end. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to die, but I'm so sick of this and I see what the future holds. I don't want to do that either. So fucking take me out now. Kill me in my...
Take me down, Lord. Take me down. Hey, don't you know Jake was thinking that way? If they were able to jump off the ship, kill themselves, starve themselves, Jake wanted to die. You're feeling like Jake, man. Look up Reversal of Fortune. You got to deal with it, man. There's nothing you can do. If you kill yourself, you're going to come back as a newborn baby. You're going to go right back into slavery for 1,000 years. If you can't see that this man's going down, I don't know, you need to pull your head out your ass.
And I'll pick up on the next one. Shalom.